Welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast.
Kevin's eyes look insane, but he's got new hair. Virginia is a witch, and she farts in her chair. Jason is a spaz who's got an old man's ass. Welcome to the After the Show podcast.
Alrighty, here we go. Welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast. It is a Wednesday and pretty quiet in here, considering, my goodness, Denny's and I, we're not the rowdiest of the crew. Virginia is in Italy. Jaybird is attending some doctor's appointments as he attempts to rebuild the bird. He's got his new trifocal glasses, which are very expensive, but very confusing for him. I think he's been struggling with those. But at least that was an attempt to fix his eyesight. Now he's still got shoulder, hip, back, sleep. What else are we forgetting here, Denny's? What else your boy the bird got to work on? I know he's got this whole plan.
The foot because he cut his foot.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, his whole left side is kind of...
not good.
Yeah, his right side doesn't need as much rebuilding. It's more the left side.
Yeah, if only you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some people are asking, is this live? Now, it could be. I mean, it's actually a new ATS. I guess you should answer that. But with everything in time delay, you never know exactly when somebody's listening. But yes, this is just Denny's and myself here for Wednesday, August 6th, otherwise known as National Gossip Day, which I can't believe Virginia is not here for National Gossip Day. But I'm sure in Italy, she's gossiping about everybody there that she sees.
I'm sure.
I know another thing that she's doing. She is flossing that No-Name movie game belt. There's a photo of it on her Instagram story. So she won right before she left. She said she was taking the belt, and I can't believe it. She actually did take it halfway around the world.
I knew she would, just because of the comments made.
Mr. Lem said, I just know it's busting birds' balls that Vicious V has the No-Name movie game belt in Italy. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But, I mean, just look at that landscape. That's unbelievable. I don't get why anybody ever left Italy. And I'm sure there are good reasons. Yeah, you had to. Back in the day, we got so many Italian Americans here. But, I mean, what drove you out of a place like that? Just absolutely gorgeous.
Probably I would say the Roman Church.
Okay, yep. Religious freedoms, possibly.
Dictators.
Yeah.
I'd say those are probably the two big ones.
I got to look into that because I don't have an exact answer. I know that a lot of people who had left England and whatnot, that was for religious freedom.
The Quakers.
Yes, the Quakers, absolutely.
Then the Shakers.
Quakers and Shakers?
You ever heard of the Shakers?
Yes, I have.
All right, yeah. They're even more extreme than the Quakers.
Did they have gang fights, Quakers versus Shakers?
I wonder.
It'd be like the Jets and Sharks snapping their fingers, Quakers versus Shakers. Yeah, and then the Irish potato famine.
Yeah.
I drove a lot of people from Ireland here. We hear what happens in Venezuela with their government. That's driven a lot of the Venezuelans that we have here now. Of course, we know why Cubans came here with the communist takeover. But, yeah, why the Italians? Got to get an answer to that. I don't know. But Virginia's going to be enjoying it. I'm not sure what day the wedding is. And knowing Virginia, she's got her flight scheduled to come back at 2 a.m. Monday morning.
That's exactly right. She usually lands just mere hours before we're supposed to go on air.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Pretty much every time she comes in, he's like,
I have no idea how she does that. I really don't. If I did, you would definitely know if I came in here at 6 a.m. and I had just flown back. It would be a disaster of a show. People would be like, what is going on with Kevin? Oh, my gosh, what a mess this is. So, yeah, we'll see when Virginia winds up coming back. I am doing my own flight tomorrow morning. I'm going to be heading out to Brighton early and heading to Austin. I go in, I do a bunch of work stuff. I do a dinner with our company. I do some more work stuff on Friday afternoon, and then I fly right back Friday night back in Lauderdale. And it sounds like you're kind of doing about the same thing, Denny's. You're doing a little trip as well.
Pretty much the same exact thing. We're going to a wedding. It's my brother-in-law's wedding. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a tricky time of year because Jen starts school on that Monday coming up. So
that's a crunch.
The teachers have been at school, but no students yet till next week. So, yeah, it's kind of the exact same thing. We leave tomorrow, but I leave tomorrow after the show.
Okay.
So I'll be running the show tomorrow, go home, get the rest of my stuff, jump on a flight. We get there probably pretty late.
Where are you going?
So going up to Indiana. I've never been there.
What town do you fly into?
So Jen's brother, he's a vicar at a church, so they move him about every 5 years. He goes to a new church, usually a new church that they're starting. Since he's worked with the same church for a long time, they send a crew of people they know. They build the church in that area, get it going, and then they move to another place and then build another church, get it going type thing. So now he's in Indiana, but he's only been there, I'd say, maybe like 6 months. So I've never been here. I don't even know the town that it's in. I just know that it's an hour and a half away from the airport. So we were going to Uber, but
probably
now
flying to Indianapolis?
Yep, flying into Indianapolis, but they're in a small town. It's a small, like, nowhere town.
That's a lot of Indiana.
I've never even been there.
Yeah, outside of Indianapolis, most of your towns are pretty small. And it's even Indianapolis is odd because you're driving on the interstate, you're looking at cornfields, and then all of a sudden you've got the downtown. And then on the other side of the downtown's nothing again. Is it the
Speedway's there too, right? The Indianapolis Speedway?
Yeah, where they do the Indy 500.
That's probably one of their bigger things out there, right?
They've got, they do have a indoor football stadium that they get a lot of action there. So they host a lot of games. In fact, a great city for hosting games. They've hosted NCAA basketball and things like that. And it's a great area right around the downtown. I was there in November, and they got a Punch Bowl social and a bunch of cool little places to go, like bars and whatnot. Indianapolis is a cool little town. It's not bad. I got respect for that, but there's just nothing around it. And most of Indiana's small towns that horribly boring. Some people love that life, but it's rough.
Yeah, he's lived in a bunch of places I've never been to until I visited him. Like Arkansas was another one. That's why we went out to Arkansas. Checked out that place, which is kind of unique. Again, probably not much going on between cities. There's really not much going on. He was in Oklahoma. Again, another place I visited him. I'd never been to before. Another place that doesn't really have that much going on.
No, I was there in February in Oklahoma City, and even Oklahoma City, it's limited. Like I did everything fun in Oklahoma City in about 5 hours. And I was like, I'm like, what else y'all got to do? And I was like, man, that's kind of it.
It's kind of weird. When I moved out to Colorado, I was talking about Florida because a lot of those people had never been to Florida. Yeah. And they just go, there has to be something to do all the time. I was like, well, yeah, I guess you get bored. And then I was like, well, actually, no, there is something to do almost at every moment of every day.
No, that's why South Florida is so unique. Now, the problem with South Florida, you run out of money to do it.
That's the thing.
And so that's normally my thing. We don't have a lack of things that we want to do. We have a lack of money to do the things that we want to do.
So we're kind of lucky because not only that, you could go to the beach if you wanted. Even if you had no money, the beach is free, at least up in Palm Beach it is.
Well, there's such a variety. You know, in Vegas, you go there and you can gamble, and they've got restaurants and whatnot. But for the most part, that's what you're there to do in Vegas.
Shows, gambling.
Los Angeles is oddly, I am very bored in LA a lot. It's beautiful and it's kind of nice, and they do have some places to see. But I think there's no place like South Florida with just the amount of things to do from beach, and you can gamble and you can do everything.
LA's got to be so expensive.
LA's massively expensive as well.
Pretty much up the coast, too, because going up north, like Santa Barbara's super duper expensive.
It is.
That's up further north,
San Fran's very expensive.
Super expensive. So, I mean, I feel like that whole area is just, you have to.
So it's very limiting.
Yeah, it limits a lot of what you can do. But at the same time, you could go skiing. And then go surfing. Yeah. It's kind of neat that you have you could drive over to mountains if you want from California.
California is, that is the cool thing about California. I lived in the middle of the state for a couple of years, and I was not far from Yosemite.
Was it Fresno?
Fresno's the town I lived in. It was 45 minutes from Yosemite. I would go there almost every weekend. If I wasn't there, I was in either LA or San Fran. And so, there wasn't a lot to do in Fresno itself.
Yeah.
But it was cool like that. And I'll tell you, honestly, maybe the best pocket is the Southeast, the Carolinas and that area. Everything's pretty close, relatively affordable, and there's enough to do.
It's not. So one of my friends that I grew up with in Stewart became a real estate agent up in Virginia.
Okay.
And man, because he's on my Facebook, I'll see his listings.
Yeah.
And you can get a 3-acre house that's 3 stories tall for the same exact price that I paid for a house here in West Palm Beach.
It's unbelievable.
Just lunacy.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it really is.
And you get property.
Yeah.
You get a river. Some houses just have a river going through them, and then you get that river if you live on it. It's crazy.
You're paying for the sun, the beach, the palm trees, the fact that so many people want to be here, and then you've got so many things to do. But this is not a good place to be poor.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it's rough. But it's fun to see everything else. So that's what we got going on. But what you heard today on the show is what we have for you tomorrow. So you're going to hear some of the new, some of the old. We're going to throw some of those old throwbacks in there. it's kind of fun to hear Jaybird's Aunt Ann. I forgot about that whole thing where she thought I was gay. So it's kind of a nice little flashback. And then hearing Jaybird riding the donkey over to Palm Beach. And the really cool thing, the cop that stopped him, she was awesome. She's a KVJ Nationer. I used to see her almost every day at the gym when I would work out and talk to her. And she was just really cool. And so she was awesome. She handled it very well.
Yeah, you can hear it in the audio. She's hilarious because they were chatting. She was a listener, and then the next cop that came was not a listener.
Yeah,
that was the one that was
code enforcement.
Yeah, code enforcement.
Yeah, they don't play. And, code enforcement on Palm Beach is interesting because that's what my father-in-law does. He's a code enforcement officer on Palm Beach.
Gotcha.
And they really don't play because they got so many regulations about construction, when you can do things. And so he's going a lot of times to job sites, and they have certain times a day on the weekends you can't do construction because that's when people are there. You're supposed to do like right now is construction season on Palm Beach. So everybody's gone and everybody's house is getting worked on.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's the one thing. In fact, the house where my daughter works on Palm Beach.
I always see houses getting worked on out there.
Yeah, as they've been running around to Europe and the Hamptons and all that kind of stuff, they get their house worked on, new windows, all that kind of stuff. So this is the time of year. So yeah, code enforcement is very busy this time. So it was really kind of cool to see all that, stuff and hear it. So we'll have more of that. And we're kind of dipping down into some of the archives to play back for people. It was just really crazy to hear how much our voices have changed. And I was wondering, I was like, is that the way the video or the audio is archived? Or is that truly how our voices sound? I thought it was sped up.
Yeah. I was answering a lot of comments. People asking, like, is this sped up? But, man, I listened through a bunch of your guys' old audio, and I think you all just had higher pitched voices, especially like a Virginia, a Jason. Jason sounds like a crazy.
He does. It's pretty insane. And then also, too, just to listen to how we did stuff. We did so much visual stuff you couldn't even see. And we had KVJ TV, but we didn't have the video like we do now. If we were doing anything like that, like riding the donkey over there, we would have had 2 or 3 people at least. We would have hoped to be running cameras and doing stuff like that. And I think we do have some photos and stuff like that. But
I shared the article of them pulling them over and stuff. But yeah, I was trying to find some archived footage of that. It's just tough.
Well, people were asking about the video on that, and I had forgotten when we had KVJ TV, and that was the thing. We've been doing KVJ TV since, I don't know, probably at least 2010.
I'd say,
at least 15 years, if not maybe 2007, 2006. And the thing that we did was the video was posted directly on our website at KVJShow.com. And then, we didn't know or think about it. And I think we had tried to archive it. That's what I thought. That was Heather's. She was the producer before you. And if people don't know the story, the hard drive got warped. We still have it, but it costs thousands of dollars to try to save the audio and video that's on it. And we haven't wanted to pony up the money because it's not surefire that you can retrieve it.
For sure.
We were just always hesitant about saying, I don't know if I'm going to spend thousands. How much are we going to play it? How much are we going to use it? But it'd be cool. So yeah, a lot of the video stuff we don't have because now, since we've been at WRMF, everything is on YouTube. So that's all archived. And we can go back and get that.
Even finding old audio of you guys not just how they used to do it. They would try to host it on the website, so it would drive traffic to the website. I mean, there's a bunch of audio even from when we've been here, maybe 8 years ago, that we can't get because it was all hosted directly to the website for a period until we switched it over to the podcasting apps and the RSS feeds.
Yeah.
Before that, it just went to websites, and then when that company bought another radio station and left, we would lose access to all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's been really tough. That's why I do appreciate with KVJ Nationers, if you have any audio, video, photos, anything like that. And I was thinking about, we are 4 years away from our 30th, and I hope we make it. I hope we make it to 30. You never know in this crazy world and in this industry and all that kind of stuff. We got to go through another contract negotiation before we get there. But if we are blessed enough to make it to 30, I would love to do at least one show, a couple live shows, and show as much video, audio, get all that kind of stuff ready. And I thought, boy, it's going to be a massive undertaking to put together a 90-minute or so presentation on the 30 years of KVJ that we honestly probably should be starting now.
Yes.
Just so it's not so crazy when we get to 30 years. And that would be in 2029.
Which is wild.
That we'd hit 30 years.
Jeez.
So yeah, that would be my goal. I was just thinking about that last night. So we'll try to do that. But if you do have anything, and I always see photos that are popping up, we'd had a Camp KVJ winner that came in here. She's 13.
Yeah.
She was in here last week, and she brought a photo, and she's shown it to me. And I was probably in year one here. I had the frosted tips. The hair was dyed at the end. Virginia, she had the bangs. We were both 25 years old, I think, when that happened. And I've got this kid that is up on my shoulder in the photo, which you can't even do that now. But she's like, yeah, that's my dad. I was like, what? And he was a kid.
He was on your shoulder.
He was a kid, and she's 13. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got the photo on my phone if you want me to show it.
Yeah. It's an unbelievable photo. I was like, well, you know what? Call your dad, see if he wants to come in. We'll recreate that for everybody.
I just thought that was so funny when she showed that to me.
Yeah, and she's 13, and that's her dad. I got up on my shoulder. So, yeah, so anything like that, too, that's kind of cool. I don't remember that, have no recollection of it.
The oldest footage I have of you guys, I think, is from 2014. It might even be 2013. I have some footage of y'all.
That's really when things were most documented.
Exactly. We had YouTube. A lot of stuff was getting put on YouTube at that time.
And
too.
I never even thought about it. You know, and honestly, I mean, I think you've heard the story before, but we were doing video when it was considered to be really dumb to be doing video.
Like y'all in radio.
And yeah, the convention I'm going to tomorrow, there was a session that they had, and somebody had asked me about it. They called me out, and I was up trying to defend myself. I'm like, look, I think it's really important. I think that video is going to be a radical part of radio. And the whole room, it was like something out of one of those 80s movies. About 500 people were just laughing at me. And the guy's like going, you're such a dumb fuck. He's like, how are you even in radio? He's like, you're in radio. You're not in TV. He's like, if you want to be in TV, go in TV. I get it. But he's like, you're in radio. And so I didn't have anything else to say. I'm like, all right, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
So, so it was something even back then where just radio didn't think about doing it. We didn't think about archiving it, wanting to do a day like what we did today, where you'd love to have the video that's rolling along on YouTube at the same time. So, but we're doing that. We're going to try to put it together, and we're trying to put all the archives together. That is something that hopefully one day we will have a ton of, and we just have never had the staff to do it.
Yeah, if anyone does have old footage, send it to us. I'll start collecting it. I have some old footage I can definitely throw in there as well. Mm-hmm. But I think everything back in the day, too, is much more separate, much more compartmentalized or whatever.
Compartmentalized, yeah.
I feel like news was news. TV was TV. Like, it used to be actors.
It was, yeah.
There was a difference between actors that were in movies and actors that were in television, and then actors that were in soaps. Like, those three were considered three different categories of actor. Nowadays, you could be doing a commercial. It doesn't even matter. I remember when actors doing commercials was frowned upon, or at least made fun of.
You would have to go to a different country, and they would do that, and we would see a George Clooney doing something in Australia or Japan. You're like, that's crazy that they wouldn't do it here. And now the lines have blurred because so many movie stars are doing TV now, and vice versa. And it is. I love it. I think it's an awesome environment that we're in now, is that everything is kind of bled together. And, to give proper credit, too, I mean, the one guy who was doing video as long as we have was Howard Stern.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because his 20-year run at SiriusXM, they say, might be coming to a close.
Really?
Yeah, they think that Howard might be done, because he is still making a ton of money, and I haven't had a chance to really follow him, but I think he's doing maybe 3 days live a week now.
Gotcha.
And then the rest of his stuff, most of the stuff I see, and it's really interesting that everything I see repurposed to Howard Stern, it's older stuff. It's stuff that it's at least 10, 15 years old, and they say that that's probably all SiriusXM is interested in. They don't want to pay for the new. They want all the old stuff. Now, he went over to SiriusXM in 2006. It was a $500 million deal.
Yes.
And he does $80 to $120 million annually. And I think they're seeing, hey, look, media companies are doing that. May or may not be why Colbert was let go from his show, but they're just trying to see what the value is. And are saying, look, paying you that much money to do new shows, they're probably not getting the numbers on the new material like they are on some of the older interviews. And some of the things I just seen the last day or so with him was fascinating. It was, one was Coldplay and Chris Martin talking about how the first hit song he wrote, Yellow, which was good. Another one was Gwyneth Paltrow talking about Harvey Weinstein when Brad Pitt confronted him. But I looked at her, I'm like, that's got to be a probably 20-year-old clip that he had. So he's had the blessing of having the archives and having the network and all that kind of stuff that's been archiving his stuff. But yeah, they say most likely the Stern Show is going to come to an end, and you'll still see it, but it's going to be all the archive stuff. And maybe he would do a one-off here and there. That might be part of the deal, but that's kind of it. I just think they're like, yeah, I don't know if we'll want to pay this guy $100 million every single year for what we're getting right now.
That's all we listen to is his old stuff if me and Bert are hanging out.
Yeah. Well, look, it is kind of a young man's game, and he had that, and he's in a different place. And so I know a lot of people still love what he used to do. His celebrity interview stuff, still great.
Mm-hmm. That's where he excels.
Yeah, but they may just say, hey, look, I don't know if that's worth $100 million. Yeah. The amount of hits that you'd have to get to justify $100 million every single year. That's crazy.
You'd have to be a dominating force.
Right.
People would have to go, all right, So how's like Rogan doing? I remember he was a big player for a second there too.
He's doing great, and that's it. And so a lot of these companies, they're looking to say, hey, we got to pay Alex Cooper. We got the Smartless podcast. We got Stephen A. Smith. You got Trevor Noah that's wanting to do something now. And I'm expecting that Stephen Colbert will probably go into the podcasting space. And I think CBS may have even offered him a TV show. They're trying to make it look like, hey, we're not firing him because we don't like him or anything like that. It's just the math wasn't mathing, is what they're trying to say. Now, I know I got an email about anybody who believes differently is just an idiot. And so they were calling me out yesterday about it. But, I'm just going with what I'm hearing. And it makes sense. I know how media deals work. Mm-hmm. The numbers have just got to back it up. Otherwise, what are you doing? These companies are not in business to lose money.
They are not. They won't even take risks on anything.
You can't. And when you've got so much other talent that's a lot younger that is getting these kind of numbers, you got to say, hey, I mean, it's where the game is. I think it was maybe it was ESPN or it was a big sports network like that. They just hired on an influencer to go around to all the games because of the numbers that they've built up on their own. Mm-hmm. And that's really what the game is today. They've got the clicks and they got the numbers that are there, and they're like, okay, we'll throw the money at you now.
They're buying audiences. There was a band when I was living in Colorado that we were touring around trying to get on the mainstream. And we met with a bunch of different labels and stuff, and they all said the same thing. They just go, get your followers up. They go, when we're buying you guys, we're buying your followers, your group. Right. We're buying you for who already follows you. Mm-hmm. Really, the music's secondary. It really is. Yep. We're buying a pre-built-in audience. It's kind of like pre-selling a show before you perform. A lot of bands will have to pre-sell tickets before they perform. That gives the venue an idea of how popular that band's going to be.
And that was KVJ in 2014. That was our whole thing. That's when I learned that lesson of it's all KVJ Nation. I mean, they are the whole value of KVJ. What we do, it's nothing. It's the audience that is there wanting what you deliver. Mm-hmm. And the statement, how they stood up for KVJ, WRMF, they took note. And they're like, my goodness, they have got a massively passionate fan base. It's going to follow them. We're on a Miami radio station, still number one in Palm Beach. And they're like, because Miami stations don't do those kind of numbers in Palm Beach County. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, okay, well, they still clearly have a following. They got a passionate audience. And KVJ Nation, that's why everything we do, it's all about KVJ Nation. It's about our audience that has done it. The nation is strong, and that's it. That is our true value. It's not do it, bitch. It's not any of those kind of things. It's not even our archives. It's just KVJ Nation, how they've come together and gelled, and that's what people want. That's KVJ's value as our audience.
That's true. And when we have meetings behind the scenes about doing events and stuff, we always try to be listener focused and like what's the best experience for the people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, when you're working with management and stuff, they have different goals, and we always try to make that a very vocal point.
Yeah.
So,
and now more than ever, we're putting the call out because I realize KVJ Nation's helping us with the archives. We've got a group right now led by Cesar that is putting together a KVJ Discord, and I am still trying to understand it. Don't come to me for any advice on Discord. I don't know it, but they're trying to teach me and showing me the value of it. And there's going to be archives, places to connect. There's going to be so many things I think we're going to be able to do when we get this thing up and running. Mm-hmm. Now, we got so many projects going on, and we got such a limited crew. That's the thing that's so tough about KVJ, because everything here moves at a snail's pace because we just don't have the staff. I got a buddy of mine who does radio in Atlanta, and he was in town, and we were hanging out, and I just asked him, like, so how many people do you have? He at first question, he couldn't give me an answer. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I think We have 14 or 15, I'm not sure. I was like, the fact that you don't know how many people you have working on your show tells me everything. We've got 4, that's it.
Well, let's just steal 2 of those
Full
people.
stop. I mean, 2 would make a world of difference.
2 people would change so much.
So we got to do things a little bit differently, being where we are, doing what we're doing. But I do appreciate the volunteers that are coming up and stepping up and being a big part of it. And I think that will only continue to grow with KVJ over the years, that people that want to be involved, come on in. I love, that's why we're trying to encourage people to use the mic drop feature, where we had one of our listeners going into Dunkin' asking for butthole donuts last week. I'm like, that's great. If they can go out and just do their own stunts and send us the audio and all that kind of stuff.
We'll play it.
Absolutely. We'll do all that stuff. So we're going to be doing a lot more stuff with KVJ Nation going forward. And so we appreciate your loyalty and everything you guys do. So that's only going to continue to grow. And I'm looking forward to the Discord. When I get a chance and get through all this, get back into school and all that kind of stuff, we'll hopefully be dropping that pretty quick. Now, Michael, he had asked, can I get a backstory? I've only known producer Denny's. Can you tell us more about producer Heather and then what happened to her? Why did she leave? Yeah, I mean, to give you just a real quick, going all the way back, Virginia and I started in 99 with an intern named Rolo, and that went to Matt now. So we used to be able to do interns. That's something that they've written that off now, because there was a lawsuit that had happened about interns wanting pay. And I'm okay with that. I understand, because you are doing a job, and that's an argument, but that ended it for us, because they said we don't have the money to pay interns. So we used to have an army of interns. We always had 2 to 3 interns.
Yes.
Always, that were working on the show and doing a lot of stuff. And that also has, made it tougher for us to do all these projects. We have nobody else that can do the free labor and do the archiving and do all these kind of things. And every single day you got to do a brand new show.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it tough.
Interns all the way till, I think, 2019.
Yeah, I would say it's probably been about 5 or 6 years since
you guys used to have a big trove that would come in, and then it got reduced to 2, and then it just got dropped completely.
Yeah. We used to have an army of them.
Yeah, I remember when we first stopped having interns, it rocked our world.
It did.
For 3 months, we had to adjust.
So they were it, because when I got hired, it was one salary. I had to carve off a chunk of my money for Virginia. We then grew that. She got her own salary, and then we grew the 3rd position and then the producer position. So, yeah, it used to only be 1 paid position to do this whole show. Now, thankfully, at least it's 4. Used to be 5. But look, we're dealing with the same kind of constrictions that is happening in the media world, and that's why we're trying to find other ways to monetize it so that we can do what we can to spread the wealth to other people. But yeah, it's a tough game. So then we had, from the interns, we had a couple other producers that we had hired, and it just didn't work out. And then we did the contest to find Jay Bird, and he came in. He's been with us 21 years now.
Jeez.
And then after that, it was Mariana who was in. Then Heather was an intern that came in. And then we had the friction with Virginia and Mariana. It's been well documented. And it's simple enough to just say it was just oil and water. It was passive aggressive. They didn't click. We went to therapy. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And Mariana finally came to me, and she's like, yeah, I don't see us ever clicking. And so she kind of walked away on her own. And then Heather was elevated to the producer position. Then we went to Hits in Miami, which was The Wave when we first started. Was it The Wave? I think it was called The Wave.
The Wave, and you guys were part of the rebranding for the Hits.
Yes.
When they changed the format. They flipped the format.
Well, the problem is they had all these plans for a new station, and then the guy who put all the plans together left. And so it was just a disaster in the making, and that never worked out. That's why that was so short-lived. Poor execution on that. And then with Heather, we had a year deal. We had to sit out, and the thing that she wasn't part of the agreement and the initial contract that we had. She's like, look, I gotta keep working. We're like, we get it. We're not making the kind of money we can, give you all our money. And so she had the opportunity to go work with Paul Castronova, who's, I mean, just the king of Miami, has just been doing great radio much longer than we have even. And I was like, it's a great opportunity for you. And he wants a female co-host. This is an elevation for you. You're staying in Miami. And so I think it's been great for her. She's still with Paul, and he loves her, and it seems like a good experience. And so then you came in, and you've been just an amazing fit, and it's been great. So that's how we got to where we are.
Yeah, I worked with Heather for, I think, a year and a half. I worked a little bit on the tail end of Wild 955 before you guys moved.
Right.
And then I worked with her the whole time down in Miami.
And your role in Miami, you were in promotions? Is that what you were doing?
So, yeah, I think there was some weird caveat where I had to have a promotions position in order to, because I would put up all the clips after the show.
Right.
So I did
okay.
like the production after. Heather would send me them all over, tell me, she'd give me like instructions, and I would just follow the instructions pretty much. So I was just hanging out behind the scenes. It was me and Lewis, who I think used to grab your guys' phones and stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
We would just be chatting and stuff, and then Heather would come out, update us, go back in.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah. So that's really kind of the history of the show in a nutshell. And people say, was Jay Bird an intern? No, he never really was an intern. I mean, it was
a contest winner.
I mean, really what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be, back in radio, you used to call it a sidekick. Look, I used to do that job when I was in Fresno, when I was in Kansas City. I was the sidekick, and then I elevated to co-host, and then I was pretty much hosting in Kansas City before I came here.
And you produced as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you pretty much did all the positions.
Yeah, I did it all. Kind of got
the best way to do it. The best managers always have done all positions.
You know what it takes. You know how much work it is. You understand how you're taxing everybody. And so you've been there. You've done that. So, Bird was actually never an intern. He was a paid position to come in and do, what he still does today.
You guys had a different sidekick / stunt person at that time, right? That had left, and then you guys held a contest.
That was it, because it got to the point where I'm like, because I used to do that stuff. I used to go out and do the street stuff and the pranks and all that. And it got to the point I'm like, I can do a better job than this guy I got doing it. And I'm like, I almost did. And I was like, you know what? I just got to find somebody else. And then that's when we found Bird, and he was amazing at it. And, you got to hear a little bit of that today. That's why it's kind of fun to hear him out there doing that kind of stuff, like taking the donkey over the bridge and all that stuff. And so as Bird tries to rebuild himself, maybe one day we can get out there and kind of do some more of those projects. But it's tougher. And look, and we've been talking about this week, there's been 2 of these pranky YouTube guys that have gotten arrested or sued. One guy's looking at 6 years in jail. Now, I don't think he'll get that for what he did, but you are talking about jail. That's going to cost, with legal fees and everything else, and then lawsuits and whatnot. It's a lot.
Every now and then they try to make an example so that other people don't do it. So, but I think the game's changed a lot.
It has.
Companies used to get sued. You've brought this up before. This isn't new, but companies used to get sued, right?
Right.
Now, as these people are getting richer and they're seeing the value behind followers, people are going to start getting sued. It just hasn't happened really.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive wake-up call to some of these influencers that have built up their platforms and have done these kind of things. They're going to find out that now people are starting to taste the sweetness of suing them, and they're going to be held accountable, and then the platforms themselves are going to be held accountable. I know that's one. I think this might be a little far-reaching, but there is a mom, I think it's TikTok, she's looking to sue because her son was doing surfing on, I think maybe Chicago or New York. I think the video I saw was above ground, and they had the L in Chicago. I think they do some elevated trains in New York City as well, different parts of it. But he was up there, and that's been a thing that they've been doing, where they've been surfing on these subway cars.
Gosh, really?
Crazy dangerous. And the kid died doing it. And so she's saying this is the fault of TikTok or whatever for giving him the idea. And there's a battle on that. And some people are saying, but still, you bought him the phone. There is some kind of accountability. He's under your watch. So how much do we blame everybody else for these kind of things? And so you may question, we have just this week, about some of the content that these platforms are allowing on, what they're policing, because it seems like they're taking down stuff they shouldn't, and they're allowing stuff to stay up that should not be allowed.
Yes.
But these kind of things. So that's one of the big debates. But I don't know if she'll win. I don't know if she'll settle.
Well, so do you think the lady who fell off the counter in high heels that broke her back, do you think she should be able to sue TikTok? Or
look, I'm coming from the side of the person who does all these dumbass things, and I think if you
know the risk you're doing,
you know all the risk. I hate it. In fact, I've hated what it's done to our show. I hated the fact that all these kind of things that I do now, you got to get them. You have to run them through legal, or you will be suspended, and then you'll be fired on the second one, and you have to get them approved, and legal says no to absolutely everything.
And it's 10 days until you hear that.
Yeah, so exactly.
Then you're like, all right, well, wait, no point doing it now. It's
not
so far removed.
Anymore. Yeah, exactly. And that's where we're handcuffed and what we have to deal with. And I understand it, because when you lose one of these lawsuits, you're talking $30 million, $100 million, and the company's like, we don't have that kind of money to play with. We're dealing with very small margins. We're just making it. So, yeah, you get a $30 million lawsuit, then we got to fire 10 shows.
Yeah.
Because you've done that. So, that's the world that we're in now. And so I get it. So, to me, I believe in accountability. Come on, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to start suing movies now?
TV shows?
Or a TV show that suggests things and they have all this kind of stuff. Be like, yeah, I saw they did on a TV show. Come on, numbskull. Because you're going to sanitize everything. You won't be able to show anything. You won't be able to show a kid jumping in a pool because they'll be like, yeah, my kid jumped in a pool then and he snapped his neck and he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
There's got to be some kind of
where's the line?
Accountability.
It's just it's such a gray area. People are always going to try to sue or blame something else, but I really do think it's in the individual's fault.
Yeah, I do too. So,
I don't think anyone should die because of this stuff, but at the same time, I mean, you ride a bull, there's a chance you can get killed.
And I think that the next 5 to 10 years are going to determine what media is going to be allowed to do. If the judges rule against these companies or if the companies chicken out and they settle, then there's going to be even tighter restrictions on the kind of content that is out there because of the dumb copycat saying, well, I didn't know. I got on a subway car and died.
I feel like all companies chicken out and settle.
They do. That's where they are right now.
They always do.
Well, because it just, by the time you go through years of court battles, you almost pay that anyway. So you're hoping, and then you're like, okay, so if we pay the legal fees and then lose, at this point, we're just good to settle. And so that's why we are kind of where we are, which is pretty crazy.
We'll just play old bits of stunts then, because you can't get sued for those. I mean, technically, they already said
yeah, I mean, who knows? Somebody could try to ride a donkey to Palm Beach today and fall off the donkey and snap their neck and be like, hey, I got the idea by listening to KVJ's replay from 15 years ago. That's just where it is. And when a judge rules against you, like, really? I mean, you're not helping anybody out here, judge. Yeah, so we'll see where it winds up going. So the next couple of days we'll have some different replays in, some other stuff. The only thing that I hate is we won't have some of the topical stuff with the dirt and the whacked out news. I even thought, like, how can I do that from Austin? I'm like, I just don't. There's no way. So we're not there yet technically. Maybe one of these days we will. But, yeah, the next 2 days we're going to have pretty much all replays as we all got stuff that we got to do. But one story that is really kind of interesting to me is the Hulk Hogan. They had his memorial service yesterday. I assume he's gone. I think he was cremated, and that came out. Brooke Hogan went on with Bubba the Love Sponge, who was connected to her dad because of that sex tape.
Oh, gosh.
Part of the conversation was she absolved Bubba of any responsibility, saying that even though it was a sex tape of Hulk Hogan with Bubba's ex-wife, she's saying, I know that it was somebody that worked for you that got that video and released it. It wasn't you. So she absolved him of that, which I'm sure what Bubba wanted. But the other part that she had gone into was she talked about the suspicion about her dad's death. Now, she doesn't like the woman, Sky Daly, that the Hulkster had married. And at one point when Brooke's mom was having a meltdown, this was just a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, Hulk Hogan and his wife, they made a thing where they're eating popcorn, that whole thing where just let's watch the meltdown. So kind of almost mocking Brooke's mom. And so here's what she is saying to Bubba, that she thought her dad's death was suspicious. And they're saying that it was a heart attack. That was the autopsy, but she's questioning, okay, we didn't really have an autopsy, and then you all burnt him pretty quick to get him in the urn.
Me and Jen went through all the surgeries together, and we'd take shifts. And that's what has me puzzled because, they're saying, oh, he had leukemia. And I'm like, I saw his blood work every time. One doctor, I quote, said, his blood is like a 25-year-old. I mean, he took the most care of his body and his blood. I mean, he was going to an anti-aging specialist. And what also, just being through all the surgeries, you have to do a blood panel before any major surgery. How did nobody catch, a high white blood cell count? That's what bothers me the most, and I'm like, we don't have cancer that runs in our family. I do think it's weird that no autopsy was performed because, yes, you can have a heart attack, but what was the reason for the heart attack is the question. Because if he was up and, doing breathing exercises and stuff, that means that the surgery on his heart was a success and it was working. For me, the no autopsy and the leukemia out of nowhere hits me as BS. And I would be surprised that a surgeon would work on somebody with leukemia or somebody that would see a high white blood cell count and not do further investigation first.
Mm-hmm. So that's her thoughts on her dad's death. I did see a comment. Somebody had said that if you abuse steroids, which it could have happened by looking at the size of Hulk back in the era and how people in WWF were at the time, they said that can actually turn into leukemia later on, blood cancers and things like that. So could be a result of that. So I don't know. That's her take on that. I'm sure she's just trying to sort through everything. And if they didn't do an autopsy, I guess you'll never know. I don't know. So what is it then? Foul play? You thinking that his wife did something to off him to make him have the heart attack? So I'm not sure what exactly what her accusations are going to be there.
Yeah.
And clearly it's going to go nowhere.
It sounds more as if she's reeling about it because it seems sudden.
Yeah, I think so as well. Now there's another dad that's in a little bit of hot water right now and getting a little bit of flack. His son, Landon Barker, his girlfriend, Skyla Sanders is her name. There were a series of photos, and they're kind of revealing. She's like in a bikini, one she's on a bed, and here's dad, Travis Barker, liking the photos. And so you're like, oh, that's kind of creepy, and says it was a little inappropriate. But some people are like going, yeah, but his son's in some of them. And I saw that, and it relates to me because I've got kids of that age. My son, he's got a girlfriend. And I know my daughter, she kind of keeps track of when I like and don't like. And so I try to do that. But I also am trying to be mindful not to be creepy dad.
Oh, yeah.
If you got, hot girl that's younger, it's your son's girlfriend, liking, loving the photos.
I'd probably try not to, just tell him in person.
Yeah, but I think it's a legit dilemma. So I feel for that because he's in the public eye more than I am, and he is catching some shit because he was liking the photos that apparently he should not have.
Oh, man, you can't do anything.
You really can't. That's just it. If there's anything, you really can't do anything. I think that's probably, if I had to title today's episode, you just can't do anything. So there you go. All right, well, I appreciate everybody from KVJ Nation hanging on with us today, just dealing with two of us with having two show members out, doing what we can. But we got some really good replays for you coming up, some other videos. Keep checking YouTube. We're going to have some of those things posted as well. And then everybody back together, we hope, live on Monday. So we'll talk to you all then. You have a great rest of the week and an awesome weekend. Keep an eye on our socials too, because I'll be posting stuff from Austin. You'll have Virginia doing stuff from Italy. Denny's hopefully on his trip. And Jaybird just sitting in the waiting room at the doctor's office. Y'all have a good weekend. Goodbye.